everyone, and welcome to episode 97 of the Best Day Ever Crafting podcast. My name is Trisha, and this is a podcast about my making journey and celebrating with you all the reasons why crafting every day makes for the best day ever. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Tie-Dye Diva. You can also find me on Instagram as _fibertree, and that is a separate Instagram account where I have dedicated to paper crafting, planning, journaling. So if any of that interests you, then you may want to give me a follow over there as well. I hope everyone is doing well. Today what is today's date? Today is Saturday, December the 2nd. We are in the last month of the year, and I was just telling a friend this morning, I feel like this year has just flown by. But here we are. It's January. The leaves have changed and fallen. The days are short, and the nights and early mornings are super crisp, and it's all about getting cozy, at least over here in my neck of the woods. So, I have mixed feelings about this time of year. Sometimes I feel like my mood is a bit low when the days are shorter, and I attribute that to several things. But so I feel like I've been trying to find all the things to bring as much light and joy and happiness into my little space as possible. So one of those things is being here with you and podcasting and sharing our mutual love of making. So welcome in. I have several things to share with you today. I normally record on Friday, but if you recall from the last episode, I felt like I was at the beginning of fighting something upper respiratory again, and that turned into something upper respiratory. I fought with that for a couple of weeks, and I finally feel like I am on the mend, thank goodness. So I decided to just rest yesterday, and today feeling remarkably well, and I'm just going to run with it, try not to overdo it. But instead of delaying the podcast by another week, I said I would record today, which is a Saturday. So on today's episode, I have a finished object, and then I'll just catch you up on the projects I have been working on since we last chatted. There are some acquisitions, as always, and we'll chat a little bit about our big Makealong for 2024, which is a sweater Makealong that I am hosting along with Rochelle of the Queen's Yarn Boutique podcast. I almost had a brain lapse there. So I will be co-hosting again with Rochelle of the Queen's Yarn Boutique podcast. And what else? Oh, and I have just last night, I decided to wind yarn for a couple of new projects. So we'll chat about those as well. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's get right to it. So first of all, I'll share with you my finished object. So, between the last podcast and this podcast, I completed this beauty right here. And you know what? I realized I wove in the ends, but I didn't clip them, so hold tight. I'm going to clip these two ends right here. Why do we do that? Why do I do this? I feel like I always take forever to clip the ends. Okay, so now it is officially finished. Okay, so let me just have you take a look at it. Look at the construction of this cute little neck scarf. Oh, and it smells so good. It smells so good. So this is the Sherbet Bandana. And this is a free pattern by Lamb and Kid. And I'm going to pull it up on my iPad so that I can give you all the specs. So again, this is the Sherbet Bandana. It is a Lamb and Kid Designs pattern. And as you can see, it is basically a bandana or a neckerchief. And the yarn that I use to knit this is Diamond Lane Big Birdie. Big Birdie is considered an Aran weight yarn, although I would more so classify it as a bulky, and I'll explain why shortly. But it is classified as an Aran weight yarn. It is 79% alpaca and 21% silk. There are 174 yards in each 100-gram skein. And the color that I chose to knit my Sherbet bandana in is Trippy. I'm going to try to get this in the camera so that you can really see closely. Hopefully the camera is picking up. There we go. How beautiful this color is. Now if I scan this all the way across, it almost looks like I have some striping going on. Actually I do. Very subtle stripes. Can you see that blue really popping through the purple? And then in other areas, you see the blue and the purple mingling together. You don't see the stripes as much on this side, I don't think. But that was a really cool, unexpected effect. This was knit on a US 8 5.0 millimeter needle. And I'm going to show you how the pattern is styled. I'm going to put this on the way it is styled on the Ravelry project page. I think Sarah has two. Yeah, she's got two knots there. So this is basically how it is worn on the Ravelry project page. Let me stand up a bit so you can see that. How cute is this? I love this so much. I think it's just adorable, absolutely adorable. Okay, so again, this is the way it is styled on the Ravelry page, and I can vouch that it is extremely warm. I think it has something to do with all that alpaca being so close around your neck where no air can get in. So I expect to get quite a bit of wear out of this. As you can see in the construction, it starts out really just a very small amount of stitches, and then you're gradually increasing until you get to the center. And then once you get to the center, you decrease until you get to the end. So you only have, I think, about 3 stitches to cast off, which is really nice. And this was a really quick and fun project. I started this Wednesday before last in the afternoon after work, and I was able to complete half of it by that evening. I took a break from it on that Friday and Saturday, and then I finished it up on Sunday of last week. So a very quick project. This could easily be done in a day or 2 evenings. And I don't know what else to say. Okay, so let's talk about this yarn. I actually have another skein of it over here, so I'm going to grab another one. Okay, so this is what it looks like in the skein, in the hike. And trying to see, so this is what the individual strand looks like. Hopefully that's coming in nice and clear. So I'm assuming that the narrow strand, which you can see, is the silk, and I would assume that the alpaca is plied around the silk. So when knitting this on a US 8, I kind of feel like I was struggling a little bit with that US 8 needle, being that this silk is just, the silk is not, this is not a springy yarn to knit with. The silk, that silk core gives it quite a bit of strength and stability. So oftentimes I felt like I was kind of struggling with the stitches. I do think that if I were to knit this again, I would use a size 9 needle, but I'm almost sure I would have to adjust my size because this is how much of this yarn I had left. So there's not a lot of wiggle room if you decide to use a different size needle. That I would definitely have to take the stitch count into consideration. So, but I guess I could always just weigh it, right? If I decided to use a size 9 needle, weigh the skein before I start, and then carefully weigh it to make sure that I stop the increases just at about half of the skein. So I think I would do that. I don't think I would use that yarn on a size 8 needle, at least not for my gauge. But the beauty of the yarn, even though I felt like I kind of struggled with it on that 8, the beauty of this yarn is when you block it. It's soft. You can tell this is super soft. It even looks soft on the screen, right? But the beauty of this is when you block it. It is so soft. I left it on the back of the couch yesterday and Cash took his nap on it. Cash is my cat, if you're here for the first time. Cashmere, and we call him Cash for short. He took a nice long nap on this. So, beautiful project. I will definitely knit this again. Not sure if I will use the big Birdie. I can easily see pulling out an Aran weight skein or a worsted weight skein and pairing it with some mohair. I think that would be amazing. Diamond Lane also has a sister base to this yarn, and it is called simply Birdie. So Birdie is a fingering sport weight, so not as thick and heavy as this. So I could possibly use Birdie along with a silk mohair, or maybe along with a fingering weight yarn to make one of these. So that's always a possibility too. But this pattern gets a 10 for me for sure. It's just absolutely lovely. And the yarn, it's beautiful. It's equally beautiful, but I would just say to pair it with a needle that you feel comfortable knitting with. So again, Sherbet Bandana by Lamb and Kid Designs. So that's the only finished object that I have, but I am very close to finishing something else. So why don't I show that to you? Actually, before I do that, let me just show you really quick the progress on these socks. I haven't worked much on them this week, for the past 2 weeks, but I've made some progress. So I'll just show you that real quick. So here we go on sock number 2. The leg is done. I did my traditional heel flap and I turned the heel, and I've now started decreasing on either side of the gusset. So definitely making good progress with this. I would really love to finish these this weekend. I feel like I want to put in a movie and just really veg out on this sock so that I can be done with it, because there's so many other socks I want to work on. I wanted to cast on a autumn pair of socks, and if I get these cast on done this weekend, then I feel that I can do that and get them finished before winter, because I would want to cast on a pair of winter socks. winter themed, winter colored. And this is the completed sock. The yarn that I'm using for these is the Perfect Pair by Arnie and Carlos. I will get this color. I will make sure it is in the show notes, but isn't it pretty? It's really pretty. I don't think it's going to be such a perfect pair. And I'm not quite sure why that's the case. As you can see, they're not going to be matching, but that's okay. They're close enough. Close enough. This is hanging out in my Button Jar Studios bag. Love her bags. Please check out her shop and her Instagram profile. Again, Button Jar Studios makes the cutest knitting project bags. Okay, so that's whip number 1. Whip number 2, I made a little bit of progress on another square for my granny square blanket. I've been talking about that quite a bit. And let's see here. Here is that square. So really pleased with this. This blue, just so pretty. I'm using mini skeins. I'm also using leftover yarns from other projects. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I knit my half and half triangles wrap out of this blue, which is from Plucky. It's Bohemian blue. It's so beautiful. And then I believe this, so the Plucky Feet is the base, I'm sorry. And then this yellowish green is also Plucky Feet, and I believe that color is Prickly Pear. Again, all left over from previous projects. So basically, my plan is to make at least 36 of these squares, and then I will be joining them together, and we'll see what size blanket we get. I can always make it smaller or make it bigger, but I'm doing 17 rounds of the granny stitch, and I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. So I may try to give this some love this weekend as well. In addition to using minis, I'm also picking up larger skeins of sock yarn to use. This is an example of one. And if you look at this, this is pretty much the color scheme of the blanket. Oranges and blues and reds and deeper tones of blues and reds and oranges. And basically I'm just calling it like sophisticated primaries is the color scheme I want in this blanket. So we'll see. I hope each square is different, and I'm just hoping they all blend together well. Excuse me. And this is hanging out in my Matterroot Maine bag. I will just take this with me. Instead of carrying all the squares with me, I'll take 1 or 2 squares with me, put a couple of minis in here so that I can work on this on the go as well. I'm looking at a squirrel, he's having himself a great time on top of the fencing. Cash is probably in the other window staring at him. Okay, so one more whip to share with you. And that is my Fleur shawl. Almost drew a blank again. Maybe I need more wine. I didn't tell you what I was drinking today. I'm having a little port. It's the afternoon, Saturday afternoon, and I was going to fix a cup of tea, but this little bit of port in the bottle was staring at me. So I said, you know what? I may as well polish that off because I will probably go get a couple more bottles this evening. So it says it's port. Of course, if I'm not mistaken, they say that if it doesn't come from Portugal, it's not an authentic port. But this is a very inexpensive quote unquote port. It's from Taylor, but it's the Taylor Black. They also have just a basic port, but this is Taylor Black. And as you can see in the color, it's really deep and rich. And it is sweet, but to me, it's not syrupy sweet. It still has quite a bit of character and flavor. And it's just really nice to sip on when it's cool. And it's kind of damp outside. It rained earlier. I feel like the sun is trying to peek out, but it's still quite overcast. So a little glass of port is a perfect drink for an afternoon like this. Okay, so let's get back to the making. That was like a little wine commercial. If I feel like I'm giggling a little bit more than usual, then that's probably a cue not to drink any more wine until I finish the podcast. So this is my progress on the Fleur shawl. Look at this. I think I was about maybe right here the last time I recorded, and I've just been flying through this shawl because it is just so enjoyable. So again, let me just stop yapping and show you the progress. Of course, it's on, I think this is a 36-inch needle, 32-inch. So the stitches are pretty bunched up on there. There are quite a few, but as you can see, this is just going to be amazing when it's all blocked. Let me make sure I don't lose any stitches. Okay, so project is secured. Let's talk about it. Let me go back to Ravelry. So again, this is the Fleur Shawl by Espace Tricot, which is a yarn shop in Canada. And the Fleur Shawl, you have two options. You can knit this with a merino DK. It calls for La Bien-Aimée merino DK, and in which case you would need 925 yards, or you can do what I did and you can use a fingering weight and pair it with a lace weight, in which case you would need, let's see here, you would need 730 yards of a fingering and a lace weight yarn. It is knit on a US 8 5.0 millimeter needle. The size after blocking should be 76 inches by 25 inches, which is a nice size shawl. Let's see, what else can I tell you about this pattern? It's super fun. The bobbles, if you don't like doing bobbles, if you hate doing bobbles, don't knit this. Don't knit this pattern because there are a lot of bobbles. I am on the very last section, and I haven't read the pattern through, but it appears that there are bobbles on the cast off row, on the bind off row. So that is something to take into consideration if you don't enjoy bobbles. One of you lovely viewers suggested to me to try the Andrea Mowry's method of creating bobbles. I will leave a link to that video in the show notes, which will be in the description box below. Not sure if I said that earlier. Wonderful video, because generally when you do bobbles, you have to turn your work. And this, as you can see, this is a pretty big project. So, but with the way Andrea Mowry shows you how to do them, you don't have to turn the work. She actually shows you how to purl backwards, and I didn't even know that was a thing. But that has made the bobble process much more enjoyable. Trying to find some bobbles there. So that has made making those much more enjoyable. It is time consuming because you're basically stopping in the middle of every 6 stitches, I believe, to create those bobbles, but it's going to be worth it. It's going to totally be worth it. So again, here is my progress on my Fleur shawl. And all of the stats about the yarn I used will be on my Ravelry project page, but basically real quick, I use Miss Bab's Yummy 2-ply fingering as well as her Yet lace. And I love this. Love this project. So that's it for whips and finished objects, but I realized I didn't share with you what I'm wearing. So I am wearing my Puntilla sweater by Joji Locatelli. And I'm going to go to my project page on Ravelry and pull this pattern up. Let's see here. Okay, so interesting. I still have this project listed as a whip. So let me just say that I finished this. I don't know the exact day, but it is done. Okay, that's done. Okay, so this is the Puntilla, again, by Joji Locatelli. This was in her Authentic collection. So this was put out in 2015. Let's see, when did I knit mine? I knit my sweater in 2018. So this project has it's been completed for quite some time, and I'm going to stand up so you can see where this sweater hits me. I'm going to have to stand to the side of my chair so you can really see this. Okay, so this is like, I guess, the top of my hip or bottom of my bottom, which is like, it hits me like right in, at least in the back, it hits me like right there at the bottom of my bum, and then the front just sits up a little bit higher, but it's still plenty of fabric to cover my my tummy area. Let's see. There's a view of the back. And there's another view of the front. So when editing this, if that view is not too good, I'm going to do a video, closer up video, so you can see it. So another thing I love about this sweater is that it's got these faux seams down the side. The shoulders are also a drop shoulder construction. And then you knit these long, beautiful sleeves that end in this lovely lace. That lace is also repeated on the bottom of the sweater. This is by far, I would say it's definitely one of the top 5 patterns I've ever knit. I love this sweater so much. And I don't think I wore it a lot last winter. Not sure why, but I'm going to live in this winter. I love a pattern that I'm pretty sure that in 2018 I was several pounds lighter than I am now, but it still fits so well. And I attribute that to the drop sleeve construction. I think I said drop shoulder. The drop sleeve construction is very forgiving when it comes to knitting oversized garments, and this is indeed an oversized garment. So there is ease in this sweater, and the recommended ease is 10 to 12 inches. And I've talked about this a lot on the podcast, but before I do that, let me just give you more specs about this sweater. So it is knit in a fingering weight yarn, and the size range is extra small all the way up to 3X, or a 41-inch bust all the way up to a 64-inch bust. So quite size inclusive there. And you will need between 980 and 2,000 yards in the main color, and you will need 200 yards for the contrast lace on the sleeves and bottom. Let's see. So I knit my sweater. I hope I put the size that I knit. I did not put the size that I knit, But normally when I knit a Joji Locatelli pattern, I usually knit an extra large. So let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right. So if I knit an extra large, which is a 57-inch bust, that's, for me, that's not a full 10 to 12 inches of positive ease. For me, that's more like 6 to 7 inches of positive ease. So if I were to knit this, and if I had knitted to pattern, or if I had chose the 10 to 12 inches of positive ease, that means that I would have had like another 5 inches in this sweater, which, as you can see, aren't needed at all. This sweater fits me so perfectly, and that's not to like toot my own horn. It's just a testament to just how beautifully this pattern was written, as all of Joji Locatelli's patterns. So again, just because a pattern says you have to have a certain amount of positive ease doesn't mean you have to go with that number. You can always knit it to to have as much ease as you feel comfortable with. And for me, in an oversized sweater like this, 5 to 7 inches is plenty, because I just want it to, it's already going to be big because I'm a larger person. I just need a little bit extra so that it will flow, but I don't want it swimming on me, because that would not be flattering at all. I mean, if that's what you like, then by all means. Fortunately, I've been really fortunate with my sweaters fitting me really, really well, and there are a few tips and tricks that I do to make that happen. So maybe I'll spend some time making some notes and creating an episode just for that. If that's something you'd like, let me know. And it's probably would be really helpful as we're entering into our sweater make-along for 2024. So the other thing about this sweater, I should tell you what yarn I used. I used the Plucky Knitter Primo fingering to knit this sweater. And I used Plucky Knitter Bellow to knit the lace on the sleeves and the bottom. The Primo fingering is a combination of merino, cashmere, let's see here, merino, cashmere, and nylon, 75-25, and the if I'm not mistaken, the Bellow is 55-45, 55% merino, 45% silk. So it too is just super lush and lovely. I picked up this yarn from an event that the Plucky Knitter had. I can't even remember the year, but it was this huge event on Bainbridge Island, and it included some shopping opportunities. And I was able to pick up enough yarn to knit a sweater. I didn't know I was going to knit this sweater with it, but they had this huge bin of yarn that was $10 a skein. And I just picked up as many as I could that matched this color. And I ended up knitting this sweater with it. So this sweater was very economical to knit, and I just love it. If you've never had a chance to knit with Plucky Primo fingering, by all means, give it a shot. Sign up for the newsletter, follow them on Instagram, because very often they'll do sales where they call them one-hit wonders. So you may not know what the color is, but at least you'll get a chance to experience the base, which is really, really lovely. And that's what this yarn was. These were all one-hit wonders, and I alternated skeins, and like I said, I just love this sweater so much. It is super cozy and so flattering. I put the gleaner on it this morning, and I still need to go over it again. But I put the gleaner on it, and it looks really, really good. So I'm going to have this on for the rest of the day. I may run back out and run errands, or who knows, I might just sit back and knit for the rest of the afternoon. Okay, so let me share with you a couple of acquisitions. And the first one is from Chelsea Luxe Yarns. I always talk about sales. I love a sale. Yarn is expensive. Hand-dyed yarn is like everything else. It's becoming so expensive. So when I can find a sale, then I really try to jump on it. So last week, Chelsea Luxe Yarns had a sale, and I picked this up. So this is a kit to knit the Something Cozy sweater, which is a pattern by Shayna Billow. This includes 4 skeins of her Cozy DK base, and that is 100% superwash merino, but it is in this beautiful boucle-like texture. So the color of the boucle is Wildflower. And the colors of the mohair is All the Things. So that was an amazing deal. I couldn't leave it there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do the Something Cozy sweater with this or another sweater, but I'm very happy to add it to my stash of sweater quantities, especially since we have our sweater Makealong coming up for 2024. So excited about that. A couple of other things I picked up from her on that same day. The 2 lighter skeins here. They came together to knit as a kit to knit the Sophie scarf. So 1 skein of her Luxe mohair, and this skein here is her 80-10-10 base, which is merino, cashmere, and nylon. These 2 beauties over here of mohair silk base, the color is Copper Penny. I mean, just look at that. I couldn't resist. I couldn't. So unfortunately, all of her sale yarn has sold out. But again, Chelsea Yarns is another one of those amazing dyers that you want to follow on Instagram and Ravelry. Her colors, she's definitely in my top 5 favorites of yarn dyers, for sure. Very, very talented, very saturated, and just, I don't want to say unusual colors, but just the way she pairs colors together is just absolutely amazing. I mean, look at that. Look at that copper and that blue together, that bluish green, and there's even some like rose gold. So, and then if you follow these folks on Instagram, or if you sign up for the newsletter, then you can be notified of when they have specials. There's really no trick to it. You just do that. Another sale that I caught, I think this is, oh, I do have 1 more skein from Chelsea Yarns, and I'll get another sip of wine because I haven't giggled enough yet. That is so good. So the other skein I picked up from the sale that day is this beautiful skein. This is another skein of her Luxe Cozy DK. This is another, that boucle yarn. Look at those colors. And this color is called Stone Wash. It matches my hair. It matches my sweater. If you recall, a couple of weeks ago, I picked up yarn from Rising Tide Fiber, another skein of the boucle yarn, because I definitely want to do a hat really soon with this. And now I'm torn which one I want to cast on for first. And while I have Rising Tide Fiber on my mind, because if I don't say it now, I'm going to forget. Then we'll go back to the acquisitions. because this all relates to purchasing sale yarn. So I actually spoke with the owner at Maryland Alpaca and Fleece Festival a couple of weeks ago. Maybe I did mention this on the podcast, but if you're new here, then she did share with me, and again, this is Rising Tide Fiber Co. I will put her link in the show notes as well. She mentioned to me that if you purchase a sweater quantity of yarn on her website, you can confirm this with her on Instagram or send her an email, but you automatically get a discount for multiple skeins that are clearly intended for knitting a sweater. So I definitely wanted to pass that on because, again, we're moving into 2024 for our big sweater make-along. So I will definitely be featuring dyers and pattern designers and just trying to feed you guys as much information as possible so you can be prepared for your sweater making in 2024. Okay, so let's get back to the acquisitions. Is this the last thing? Yep. So this is the last thing I'll share with you. Queen's Yarn Boutique. My good friend Rochelle, hey Rochelle, also had a sale. Now the great thing about Queen's Yarn, let me just double check to see, because I think she still has some yarn available. Let's see here now. Queen's Yarn Boutique, shop now. Let's see here. So she does still have some yarn left, you guys. She's got some Diamonds and Pearls MC and sock for $15. She's got some Kiss sock for $13. That Tesseract is just, it's calling my name. I don't know, but I don't need any more yarn that I don't have projects assigned to. She's got Graffiti Bridge Silk DK still available. And I'm sure a lot of these are single skeins, but you can't beat this price. Her Adore Worsted, she's got a couple of skeins of that Ecto Cooler, which is that super bright, kind of almost reminds me of this. If you're really into the neon, she's got a beautiful skein of Adore Worsted for only $13. You better grab it before I do. And yeah, so there is still quite a bit of yarn left on Queen's Yarn Boutique website for sale. So I'm so happy to tell you guys that, because I feel like when I show you things I find on sale, the sale is long gone. So head on over and buy some yarn from Rochelle and then send her a message on Instagram, because I'm going to, no, Rochelle, I'm just going to tell you now, you cannot stop dyeing yarn, because I need more of this. I've decided I want to knit a ranunculus in these two, and I just need one of each. So I'm willing to wait until you come back next year to dye yarn, but I hope you do, because I really like this. Look how this matches my hair so well. So this is her mohair base, Revolution Mohair. The color is Marble. And this color, this is the Pop Life Fingering color, also Marble. I mean, if you force me to, I'll just make a shawl, but I really want to make a ranunculus out of this. Pretty please. Okay. So that is it for acquisitions. Must knit faster, right? Okay. So, let's talk briefly about projects I have coming up. So last night, I wound up yarn. I will be knitting the Chilton Cowl. The Chilton Cowl is a pattern by Blue Sky Fibers, and it features some really simple color work using the mini skein, the Blue Sky Fibers mini skein bundles. You've seen them all over the place, and I don't even know how many there were in the bundle. I pulled it out and I took off the tag, and just all of these bundles just were thrown out over the table. And I was thinking to myself, this was not a good idea to buy this. But I got through it. I persevered, and I was able to wind up all the colors in my little bundle. Here they are here. There are a ton of them. They're underneath. And the main color of the cowl will be this. This really, oh, that's a great shot. It's really beautiful, deep, bluish black color almost. So this is the wool stock base, and the minis are also in the wool stock base. This is just a handful of them. There's so many more. And I actually used my ball winder to wind them up, and then I just wound a little bit of yarn around them so that they wouldn't come loose. There are only 12 yards on this, and each individual one of these had a tag on it that needed to be cut off, and it was a process. It was a process. I needed wine after doing this. This was a bit traumatic. It was so many little skeins, and I think my back was bothering me last night, but I stuck with it. So this is the tiny skein that came with every single one of those minis. Let's see. Come on, cooperate. There we go. It doesn't want to cooperate today. There we go. So wool stock is a worsted weight yarn. It is considered a 100% fine Highland wool. So this is a non-superwash. Each mini is 5 grams or 12 yards. And I think, you know what's really cool about this? I threw away most of these, but every single tag has the colorway of the mini, which I think is really cool. This one says 1305 October Sky. So if they were thoughtful enough to create a little tag for each one of these 12-yard skeins, I shouldn't complain about winding them up, right? And the whole skeins, the full skeins, the color is Midnight Sea, and each one is 123 yards. So again, that is going to be the Chilton Cowl. I've been wanting to knit that cowl forever, so I will get that cast on this week, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you the progress on that. The final thing that I wound up is this beautiful skein. Okay, look at that. I'm just gonna let that sit right there. How gorgeous is this? Even my husband, who's the most non-observant person ever, said, "Oh, that is beautiful. You've never knit anything out of that color." He loves bright, saturated colors. So as you can see, it's like this fuchsia with hints of an orangey red. It is fire. It is so pretty. And this may not even be doing it justice. Anyway, I had this dyed as a special order from Black Mountain Yarn Shop during the time I was actually there in the shop when Amy of Lobby and Me was visiting and doing personal shopping events. So I booked a shopping event with her, and this is what I picked up. And the sweater that I will be knitting is the LYS Sweater, which stands for Local Yarn Shop. So I will be knitting the LYS Sweater out of this beautiful yarn, which is the Mondeem base, which is a collaboration between Lobby and Me and Rosa Pomar. So there's that skeined wrapper right there. Each one of these is 427 yards, and it's a 100-gram skein, and it's a 100% Portuguese wool, sourced, scoured, and milled in Portugal. And it just feels so good. You can even hear the crunch. You can feel how soft this is. I think I'm going to really enjoy knitting this. Let's talk briefly about this pattern though, the local yarn store sweater. And let me just go to my cue. So the LYS Sweater, again, is a design by Andrea Mowry. And it features this beautiful, it is a cardigan, I should say. It is a button-up cardigan. And it features this beautiful front panel of cable stitches, which have bobbles down the center of each panel on either side. It is cropped and it has a really deep ribbed bottom. And there's also ribbing on the sleeves. I believe the sleeves are 3/4 sleeves. Yes, the sleeves are 3/4 sleeves. And what else can I say about this? There's also ribbing on the top of the collar. Lovely, right? Beautiful, right? So I got my pattern, I print off my pattern, and I said I'm really going to try to work on reading through my patterns really carefully before I start them. Only to find out that this sweater is knit bottom up. I was certain that this sweater was a top-down sweater, but it is a bottom-up sweater. And my first thought was, nope, I'm going back to the drawing board. I'm not going to knit a bottom-up sweater. And I thought to myself, Trish, no, don't do it. I'm gonna flip my fan on because I'm having a warm moment. So if you hear a humming, that's what it is. So I said to myself, no, Trish, you love this sweater. Knit the pattern. You can do this. So I started reading the pattern and it said to start with the sleeve. And I'm like, well, that's bizarre. Why would I start with the sleeve? But that's why. So you knit the sleeves and then you set those to the side. And then you start working on the bottom. And then at some point, the sleeves get joined to the sweater. This will be a first for me. I have never knit a sweater like this construction ever. I've talked about this so many times, why I really enjoy top-down sweaters. So this is going to call for a level of commitment and focus and concentration unlike I've ever had to put into a sweater. I am going to knit it cropped just as the pattern calls for. I do have a longer torso, so I will need to knit my body a little bit longer before I join the sleeves, but I will still make sure that it is cropped. And I'm going to do it. And if it takes me until the end of the sweater Makealong, if it takes me until the end of December 2024, I'm going to make this sweater. So send out lots of good vibes and lots of encouragement because I'm going to need it. But I think I'm going to really enjoy it. Another thing that's really interesting, the ribbing is knit on a US 1.5 needle. That is a 2.5 millimeter needle, and the body is knit on a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. So it's gonna take me a minute. It's gonna take me a minute, but I think I'm gonna truly enjoy this. I'm gonna really enjoy this yarn. I'm just gonna just sink into it and just really enjoy it. It'll be the perfect winter project to work on. And maybe I'll have it. Ideally, I would have it for next spring. Early spring when it's still a bit cool but not warm yet. So definitely looking forward to challenging myself and making that. So I think that's all I have to share with you today. I hope to see you in a couple of weeks with more progress on my projects. And I hope you are starting to look for patterns to join the Makealong. Some of you have already told me you've never knit a sweater before, but you're so excited to join in. the response has really been overwhelming. So I'm really looking forward to knitting sweaters with all of you in 2023 and 2024. And I've got a couple of other fun things scheduled for 2024 as well. So stay tuned. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your comments. Leave me a comment below and let me know if you are joining the sweater make along. Are you going to challenge yourself like I am with my local yarn store sweater? What are you really looking forward to making for the make along? If you're not going to join the sweater make along, what goals do you have for 2024 in your making? I certainly have quite a few of them. So I'll look forward to sharing those with you on a future episode as well. So I think that's all I have to share with you. Continue to find so much joy in your making, and I will see you again in the next episode. Bye-bye.